Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRNAM for Thursday, June 1st, 2023. And our top story today, collective investment trusts may be coming to 403B plans. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Austin Ramsey is with Bloomberg Law. Austin, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
All right. Let's talk about collective investment trusts in 403B plans. And I guess let's start with reminding the audience why we're talking about this. This kind of ties back to Secure 2.0. It's a piece that was kind of missing.
That's right. Yeah. So collective investment trusts, just to kind of get your viewers up to speed, these are pooled investments that are really a dominant force in the 401k industry right now. A lot of investment managers are switching from your traditional mutual funds to offering 401k plans through a collective investment trust. One of the primary reasons for that is because, well, they're cheaper. The reason for that is because, that's right. Then the reason for that is because they're not regulated the same way. The SEC regulates mutual funds and exchange traded funds, usually the same kind of options that you see on a menu lineup in a 401k plan. But these collective investment trusts are managed under ERISA, the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974. That has led to some consternation among some on Capitol Hill, thinking that they may not be regulated enough. That said, they're a cheaper option and they're becoming a dominant force, like I said, in the industry.
And the at play here, so they are big in the 401k and potentially in the government to 457 space, where they are not allowed, and there's a lot of reasons for that maybe we'll go into. I mean, this talk about minutia, that is minutia, but they're not allowed in 403B plans that do not use custodial accounts.
That's right.
Congress, do you want to go into that? Then we can talk about what Congress is doing.
Yeah, sure. So 403B plans are very much, they look like 401k plans, although they historically didn't. But these days, 403B plans look almost identical to 401k plans. These are offerings to nonprofit workers or government workers in large institutions like institutions of higher education, a college or a hospital campus, things like that. Historically, 403B plans were really just an individual offering of an annuity to a participant who already had some kind of access to a pension plan, usually a traditional old style DB plan. But 403B plans, as much of the retirement industry have evolved over time. And these days they look almost identical to a 401k. The problem is that some of the rules that have applied to 403B plans have not evolved as quickly. So as I said, 401k plans have adopted CITs readily, and they're becoming almost the predominant method of pooling investments. But 403B plans have not been able to access these kinds of accounts. And so the House Financial Services Committee last week voted 35-12 to advance legislation that would allow 403B plans to access these CITs. Now, it wasn't a unanimous vote, and there was some pushback from Democrats on the committee to add additional protections under ERISA. That said, as it stands, this bill appears to be making its way to the House floor for a full vote. Doesn't mean it'll pass, but it's looking like it has a good shot.
Yeah, one of the things, just to kind of build on that, and thanks, Austin, you do a great job in breaking it down, but that's why you're a journalist and I'm certainly not. But in all seriousness, I mean, parity, we're talking, the 403B regs were changed in 2009. They became effective in 2009. I think they were proposed in 2007 to create parity. And parity means the look and feel should be the same across code sections and with varying differences. And one of those big key components is you should have access to the same investment types in order to, because fees were a big deal. I feel like in 2012, we were talking about fees. They're still a big deal, but lots of litigation, right? And so this is why this is important. People in 403B plans, teachers, as you said, and not-for-profits, healthcare workers, you name it, if they're working for a not-for-profit 501c3, they would have access to this type of plan. They should have access, the plan sponsors who offer the plan should have access to these types of investments and the protections afforded to them. So Austin, in terms of the next step, I mean, there's a lot going on in Congress. I know you've written about this too, but there's a lot going on in Congress with the debt ceiling. What's the likelihood that this kind of moves its way through in this Congress?
I think it's got a good shot, and there are a couple of reasons for that. One is there's broad support for this. Although the vote was a little bit iffy, this found its origin in Secure 2.0 Act, which was a landmark piece of retirement access legislation that Congress passed late last year under a bipartisan spending bill. And so for one thing, this has its origin in a very popular bill. It was pulled out at the last minute, largely because, look, I think lawmakers were rushing to get as much as they could packed into Secure 2.0 within the confines of the fact that it was a spending bill, it was an omnibus package, and they only had a limited amount of time to get that passed without, the government shutdown being triggered. So that's one thing. The other thing here is that, look, in the House, we have Republican control right now, and that's important because there's some expectations that this could save upward of $250 million a year for 403B participants. That's important because a lot of the participants and beneficiaries that we're talking about in these kinds of plans are sometimes low-income workers who may not have as much readily be able to access as many low-cost savings alternatives as individuals in other sectors of the economy. And so 403B workers, sometimes that's just, janitors on a hospital campus or, in a government facility, for example. Not always, certainly, but some of your low income trades that may not be able to access a lot of other types of savings accounts. And so that's really important. And I think that's one of the reasons that Republicans are really driving at this initiative. So I think there's a really good shot here. The Senate might be a hurdle. As I mentioned earlier, the ERISA protections are a big concern here. That said, look, we have a very independent Senate right now. And I think at the end of the day, as you noted in 2009, this seems to be the way that the tides are shifting, is allowing 403B plans and 401k plans to look almost identical. There's no reason to expect that just ERISA protections are going to be a huge or major stumbling block. So I think that this has a really good shot.
Yeah, and I don't know. I like to point out kind of hypocrisy is not the right word, but you got it in 401k plans and governmental 457 plans. Where was the uproar over that? I mean,
No,
anyway, I mean,
absolutely.
I don't want to draw you into that, and I'm not being political. I'm just saying it just, there's got to be something more there, but we're going to have to see how that all plays out. This is a story that we're going to follow. Austin, I need to take a quick break. Of course, we got to pay our bills. When we come back, we're going to talk about some changes that just came down from the Internal Revenue Service. They're tied to Secure 2.0 as well. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're joined this morning by Austin Ramsey of Bloomberg Law. Austin, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
All right. So from Congress, which is the legislative body, to the Internal Revenue Service, which I guess is a regulatory part of the executive branch. So a different branch. And there are some IRS changes when it comes to retirement programs. You want to fill us in here, Austin?
That's right. Well, this really is Congress as well telling the IRS that they're about to do something. So we're still on Secure 2.0 here. This is the big thing here in Washington right now. As I said, late December, Congress passes this major retirement access piece of legislation, 92 plus provisions in the bill that both the IRS and the Department of Labor, and to an extent the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, are all looking at. The Congress is telling the executive branch, here's what you need to do with respect to retirement plans. But it turns out there's a couple of mistakes. So here they are. So there's 4 different areas that Congress has identified in Secure 2.0 that they're either saying, look, this could be read to mean something other than what we intended it to mean, or we just flat out made a mistake. They address tax credits, IRAs, withdrawals, required minimum distributions, and catch-up contributions. I'll go one by one really quickly. So tax credits. Secure 2.0 told the IRS that they're going to start giving employers a startup tax credit of 100% the cost of starting up a retirement plan, up to a cap of $5,000. At the same time, they gave employers a tax credit for the contributions that they make to those retirement plans on behalf of participants and beneficiaries. That's up to a limit of $1,000 per employee. But the way that they moved those words around were such that they were concerned that workers or that employers may read that to mean that there's a $5,000 cap per employee, or that there's $5,000 for 5 employees. But that's not the way it works. Congress is just telling the IRS here that these are 2 completely separate tax credits. Don't conflate the 2. Don't confuse them. One is for starting up a plan. The other is for contributions. The other one here is IRAs. You've got simple IRA plans and simplified employee pension plans. These are baseline. These are really easy, low-cost IRAs that you either purchase yourself or that your employer may offer for you. And for the first time, Congress is telling the IRS that they want post-tax Roth accounts to be accessible in these plans. But again, by the way that they worded things, there was some confusion or possibility for confusion that those Roth or that contributions into these types of IRAs may be used for the total calculation of a limit per year on Roth contributions. So that's the number two. Two more to go. Withdrawals, required minimum distributions. The Secure 2.0 Act changes the minimum age by which you have to start drawing down on a retirement plan from 72 to 73 this year, right? So if you're 72 and you have some money in a 401k plan, you don't have to start pulling that out yet, not until you're 73. But in 2032, that's going to shift up to 75. So they're pushing that even further. Look, the reason there is simple. They want employers to be able to boost these accounts up as high as possible. The problem is that they put the wrong number in there. They said 74 in one of the graphs. So they need to make that change. And then the last change, and this is the big one. This has got a lot of raised eyebrows here in DC. The Congress inadvertently eliminated a paragraph in Secure 2.0, which would make it such that catch-up contributions, which are higher contributions that employees can make to their 401ks or 457 accounts later in their careers. By eliminating this key paragraph, they actually accidentally eliminated catch-up contributions entirely for the year 2024. So Congress is telling the IRS, don't worry, we're going to fix this, no problem. The through line in all of this is that the IRS has a big job coming up. And that job is they've got to make sure all of these different provisions that have all kinds of different trigger dates are in place so that employers can have them ready for their participants and beneficiaries soon. If Congress doesn't act quickly to make sure that Secure 2.0 is ready, can be put to bed, the IRS is going to be left out. Employers are going to be left out, participants and beneficiaries are going to be left out.
And add to that, you've got 92 total provisions that require some type of regulatory guidance. And Austin, it's not uncommon for corrective measures to be taken on a bill. I mean, this is not like, hey, oops, this should never happen. I mean, this from what I can recall on other, not even just tax provision bills, but other bills in general, there are often times where, the language just doesn't make sense and someone points it out, right? And so there's a lot on the plate here, and this is going to have to move quickly in order to get ready for 2023 and into 2024.
It is, and you bring up a really good point, which is that the work doesn't end even after Congress has made its fix. The IRS has a lot of work to do. As you mentioned, sub-regulatory guidance, that is such an important part of the tax and overall regulatory process for employers, benefits advisors, record keepers, all of the different moving parts and players in the retirement industry. It is so very important that they get guidance, that they get special carve-outs or safe harbors, protections from the regulators that make it clear these are what your responsibilities are moving into this next year, moving into this new provision. If they don't have that from the IRS or the Labor Department, then those employers or those record keepers or those benefits advisors, they don't know what to do. It's like a domino chain effect here. If Congress doesn't get it right, regulators don't get it right, everyone's just, they don't know what to do. And Secure 2.0 has a lot of good in it. At the end of the day, it's about ensuring that more people participate in retirement plans and that they can contribute more money. They save more money in those plans. If these provisions aren't cleared up, then that goal that isn't being achieved, and that's important.
Yeah, and any timeline on, I think so there's programmatic changes, and I'm sitting here typing it like I would at the IBM Selectrix 2 typewriter, but that I learned on how to type. But there's a lot of programmatic changes that have to happen. Any timeline expectation that we can expect this all to be cleared up? Is this another by December 2023?
It has to be done. It literally has to be done by December. But I would expect that Congress is going to move on this quicker. The reason for that is because the letter that these lawmakers sent to the IRS were signed by the the committee chairs and the ranking members of all of the committees that have any jurisdiction in retirement plans whatsoever. So that means that we have Republican and Democratic support in both the House and the Senate. So that's a clear indication that not only is there bipartisan support, but that there's enough support that all of the key players are working together. So that's really important. That's what we know from Congress. I would expect them to move on this fairly quickly. And that's because, like I said, the IRS then may have to look at this new language and draft its own separate regulatory guidance. Now, other than these 4 provisions that I've already addressed, there's all kinds of other areas where we're waiting on the IRS to issue some type of regulatory guidance. Here's what we know so far on that. The IRS is looking at each of these 90 plus provisions, and they're deciding which of these are the most confusing and which of these need some type of guidance the earliest. So we're hearing that the IRS is going to issue sometime this summer what they call a grab bag notice. It's going to include as much guidance as they possibly can on all of those confusing or all of those very soon upcoming provisions. This may not be actual regulation that goes through the proper notice and comment process, has to be published in the Federal Register. It's just a way for the IRS to quickly communicate with the employer community and tell them, hey, we know this is coming. You know this is coming. Here's the way that you can enact these provisions without triggering a major investigation from the IRS, an audit, or some type of ERISA, enforcement provision from the Department of Labor. This is just them saying, look, here's some guidance. Here's an idea of the way to do things. After that, I would expect things are going to slow down a little bit. We're going to start to see the normal regulatory process start, and we're going to start seeing a rule on each of these individual provisions where the IRS, the Department of Labor, other regulators are working together. They're saying, this is what we think Congress means by this language.
Sounds like a lot of people are going to be burning the midnight oil. 1, in the Internal Revenue Service. 2, at the record keepers once the grab bag and the sub-regulatory guidance is issued. And 3, you're going to be a busy man, Austin, and that's why we're going to have you back again. Austin, Ramsey, always great to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Thanks so much. All right.
And that wraps up this episode of BRNAM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to? Drop us a line, and don't forget, for all the latest curated news in lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, and all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content, visit our website, and of course, all of our streaming partners. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRNAM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and wellness network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Tax audits, tax liens, wage garnishments.
Every day we hear stories like this about good folks who are simply struggling to pay their bills. Each of them are living a frightening IRS tax nightmare, and they are afraid it will destroy their lives.
I'm a divorced single mom, and my ex-husband left me and the kids with a lot of unpaid bills, including unpaid taxes. I was really starting to show my stress on my kids because the IRS had sent me a letter demanding a huge payment from me. I couldn't afford it. So then the IRS was threatening to garnish my wages. I'm already living paycheck to paycheck. That would have put me over the edge financially.
It truly seemed hopeless, but then a friend at work told her to call the tax relief line.
The people at the tax relief line, they told me about something called innocent spouse relief. They worked it out so that all of the taxes from my ex are not my problem. I don't know how that works, and I don't care. All I care about is that I don't owe the IRS a dime, and they are not going to take my paycheck.
Even if it seems hopeless, you should call the number on your screen right now. There is absolutely no cost for the call or the consultation. You are under no obligation. If you are worried that the IRS could garnish your wages, seize your assets, even take your home, call us right now. The Tax Relief Line is here to help you. Now you have a knowledgeable, professional team of tax experts that are ready to negotiate with the IRS and fight for you to save you money. The Tax Relief Line's professionals have successfully negotiated thousands of cases, reducing and sometimes even eliminating the tax debt for their clients. It's very easy to get started. Simply call the number on your screen right now. You don't have to live in fear anymore. The call and the consultation are free.